What's going on, Cancer? And welcome to the Chariot Friends. Justin here, and I hope you're feeling amazing today. So, for those of you who are returning, welcome back, Soul Tribe. I appreciate your subscriptions, your likes, and shares. Your support really is just the best, Cancer, and it keeps us growing. And for those of you who are new, welcome. I'm happy Higher Self has brought you here. We are in for an amazing journey. So the purpose of this channel, for those of you who have Cancer in your placement, Sun, Moon, Rising, Venus, wherever, Cancer, this one's for you. And I do tarot card spreads based off our ruler here, the good old Moon. And I'll talk about what sign she's in, what phase she's in, and when she's going void, of course, just all of those lunar shenanigans. And just so you're all aware, this is a general reading, not a one-to-one, so take what resonates with you, leave the rest with me. Never force a reading on a situation, and everything will be fantastic, Cancer. Now, let's jump into it. Your space has been cleansed. Gems. Feeling lovely. Just great energy all around here, Cancer. So, Cancer, the moon is going to be going void of course today. And she'll be going void of course at about 4:06 in the evening, and that's going to be Central Time. And then she'll be entering Scorpio on Friday the 7th, really kind of pretty early at about 1:28 in the morning. So we're looking at about a 9-hour and 23-minute void of course time there, Cancer. But we're still going to talk about with the moon being in Libra, since that's the main energy of the day. So with that moon being in Libra, hopefully you might be feeling charming, feeling more balanced, harmonious. But this is also just a really great time, Cancer. If you have any kind of want to strengthen any kind of relationships, whether that be in work, in family, in love, or even if we've had maybe some falling outs, maybe we've had a disagreement with someone, and you see if it feels like maybe you can salvage that relationship, it's a great energy for that, Cancer, for making amends and things along those lines. So, really work with this Libra energy. So it's just really a harmonious time, And then also, with her still being in that full moon phase, Cancer, we're still celebrating. and really, Cancer, appreciating, what you've accomplished up until now, and even Cancer, not even just this lunar cycle, but we can even go to appreciate, all the lunar cycles up until now, just really appreciate how this has made you just a more well-rounded person, and, all the ways you're going to continue growing in the future. Really it's about just a time of release, and really of just being in the moment, Cancer. So enjoy this full moon energy. And then last couple of things. Oh, interesting. These readings that I do, they're not gender-specific readings, so apply the energies to people as they make sense for your situation. And then the decks that I'm working with, I've included links for them down in the description box below, so definitely check that out if you're interested, Cancer. But Cancer, check out the general energy of the day. We got the 4th card of Capricorns here, which is the roadblock. And with the roadblock, Cancer, we have block, change, barriers, challenges, time to regroup, stuck, paralyzed, obstacles, stalling, temporary setback, take a detour, not right now, 1 step forward and 2 steps back. All right, Cancer, and with this energy here, if we find that we're in a roadblock right now, maybe we're at this place where we've just hit one of those bumps in the road, let's say, this could be a number of things, maybe we're trying to move up in our business, for example, maybe trying to get that promotion, but maybe we have a lot of people vying for the role, or maybe they're the skills that you need, it's the list is starting to pile up. But if you find just whatever your roadblock, if this is something that's resonating with you, Cancer, maybe I feel this is roadblocks are a great time, since you're already stuck as it is, to just really pause for a second, and to consider okay, have I really considered this from every angle here? And if you find that the place that you're working this out in, let's say, for example, if we're trying to figure this out at home and we just really can't seem to just find a way to get around this thing, over this thing, under this thing, then maybe, Cancer, because instead of like beating our head up against the wall, let's take take a moment from it. Maybe go outside for a walk, maybe break it up, I don't know, do some dancing, maybe do some coloring, play some music, whatever it is. I find that especially if you're in times of feeling stuck and paralyzed, if we can just kind of shake up the energy, we can just kind of get it moving in a different direction, that I find inspires these, creative ways of, maybe we think instead of like trying to go over it or under it, maybe we build a ladder to go over this thing, or maybe we try to, catapult ourselves over cancer, you know what I mean. But it unlocks these like just different ideas. And Cancer, with it being in the Libra moon, this is great energy if you need someone to bounce ideas off of, maybe get a second pair of eyes on this thing, reach out to someone, see what perspectives that another person could bring, because it may be like super difficult for you, but this other person may be just like, oh, Cancer, you just got to do this, easy, and you know what, I got you, Cancer. And look at that, now we're energies, Cancer. But you know what? Let's get a little bit more on this roadblock before we see how we can work with this energy. Okay. I'm with it. You got the Five of Moons in reverse here, Cancer. And I like that, because the Five of Moons, this can be a card of disappointment, but with it being in reverse, I feel like that it's just saying, Cancer, if we can't figure this thing out really, because I find when we get ourselves or find ourselves meeting a challenge and we keep just trying to like, oh, I know I can figure this out if I just give it a little more time, like a little bit more, and then that frustration starts building, and you can do it, but it's just like, maybe it's just like how we're going about it, it's not working with the energy. So Cancer, I feel like in order to keep from getting to that place of frustration and disappointment and anger and all of that, really just take a moment, step back for a second. Since we're already, if we're going 2 steps back, let's take, or 1 step forward, 2 steps back, let's take 1 more step back and maybe sit down for a second, maybe meditate, whatever this looks like. But I find that really, if we could just kind of step away and just like really gather our feelings, I find that just creative answers come, Cancer. Let's get a little bit more on that. And try not, because sometimes when we get in these states, Cancer, we can beat ourselves up and just like, it just gets into like a weird spiral state. So yeah, just try to be compassionate with yourself too, really. If you find yourself getting in that frustrated spot, do some breathing, Cancer, do some breathing, let that at least get you where it's not like, that may not get you in a place where it's like solving the problem in that moment, but it's like, okay, we pause, we breathe. Okay, what do I want to do next? Let's take it outside before we start breaking stuff, before we start, before the energy gets destructive. You know what I mean, Cancer? But yeah, let's get a little bit more. Absolutely. Let's take a break. Let's ease our minds. You got the 4 of Swords, Cancer. And then one of Libra's cards, Jupiter in Libra. But Cancer, really, any kind of challenge that you come up against, any sort of hurdle, and especially if this is something where we've been fixated on this thing all day, maybe trying to figure it out, because the 5 of Moons, this is Mars and Scorpio. And when you think about Mars and Scorpio energy, Mars is, how we take action. And Scorpio being a fixed sign, they can get, and being the water of the fixed sign, when we get in this state, we know we can do it, and we get frustrated because now it's like, it gets this weird kind of fuel that's going down there, and it's just like ease up there and pause, get yourself balanced again, and then really the answers start coming, Cancer. The second you start Zen, because maybe this is something where we can't tackle it today. And it may not make sense in that moment, but then, you get a chance, you sleep on it, you've taken a break, and then you've come like you wake up and then you have like all the solutions that you need. So, depending on how urgent this, maybe this how you need to get over this roadblock, Cancer, just so that I'm just looking at this, taking time to regroup, just so that we don't get to a place where we're like wasting, even I don't want to say wasting, but like where you're just kind of like getting caught up in like a spiral and like wasting like, time and things along those lines. We can work more efficiently with these energies, Cancer. Let's see what else we got. All right, interesting. All right, we got the Three of Stars here. And then we got the Five of Swords. And interesting, Cancer. I feel like with both of these cards, if we have, well, I will say one, maybe if this is something that, if we've noticed that a person, it may be the cause of this. Just thinking with these, the Three of Stars can deal with like collaboration, and the Five of Swords can deal with people as well. But if this is something where a person has gotten you, is kind of getting in the way, or, is the cause of this challenge, Cancer, I feel like, let's find a way how, what could be some ways that we can work with this person? Is this someone that we are going to, let's say, for example, if this is like, if you own a business and this is like a client, and we find that we're trying to, they're like that client that has like, a whole bunch of demands. They want this thing and then this thing and then this thing. And then, once you do all that stuff, actually, I want to change all of this. That really may be difficult kind of client. And if we find that they're, causing us a challenge and, is affecting just the overall flow of your work, then we may need to either state like, hey, Joe Schmo, we got to cut this out. Or we may need to cut this thing off altogether, Cancer. But yeah, if this is a person, I just feel like making sure that we establish boundaries and in correcting this situation, Cancer. We can be firm, and keep in mind too, with Mars being in Cancer, we can be firm, but we don't have to be where, get our point across, but we don't, want to be mindful of just like being a little overly aggressive at this time. But also, Cancer, I do feel like with both of these cards, it's saying, again, if we're having troubles, if this is really something that you're feeling kind of stumped with, don't be afraid to reach out, Cancer, to ask for people for help, and this is, this doesn't even, if you don't feel comfortable maybe asking like the people around you, then maybe this is something where you can maybe crowdsource on the internet, maybe put up like a blog or something along those lines, post in a forum or something along those lines, Cancer. But I feel like, just being open to working with others, just, helping others, or considering other people's opinions in this, Cancer. Alrighty, let's move on to some challenges, Cancer. All right, Cancer, we got the Nine of Stars here, we have the Ace of Wands in reverse, and then we have the Six of Moons here. And so some challenges, Cancer. Yeah, I feel like if we're just kind of considering with this Ace of Wands, Nine of Stars, because this Nine of Stars can be a card of self-sustaining, being able to handle things ourselves, and figuring out, just getting it figured out. And if we're, again, Cancer, I just feel like a challenge. If we're seeing that our energy isn't, that we're feeling depleted, we're getting frustrated, we just can't seem to get to that next step. Higher self, I'm just with the Six of Moons, this can be a card of, I feel like, kind of bouncing these feelings off of each other, kind of sharing this stuff. Maybe finding someone, looking for like a mentor possibly, or someone with some kind of experience with whatever your situation is. And, maybe if this is something where, if it's like let's say for example, like maybe it's something with like a car, maybe you're having like kind of motor troubles or whatever that's looking like, and maybe we don't want to kind of shell out a bunch of money, for example, then there are a bunch. I feel like there are at least, and I'm not sure about motor, stuff, cancer. Be mindful. Consider your situation. But there are plenty of videos. I feel like on YouTube and just like the internet in general. We can kind of work through the different sources, see what works for us, what didn't work. What kind of reviews have been left, but being open to maybe, just asking someone who has some kind of know-how on this, just so that we can just get some momentum, Cancer, and get you back on your way. Because just because you ask for help during this thing, if we've been reluctant to maybe reach out, that doesn't mean that you can't support yourself or anything along those lines. We all need some help every now and again, Cancer, because there are certain people that have certain expertise that we don't, and that's the beauty of this whole of everyone's experiences. We're all interested in different stuff and all have have those passions and have those varying levels of skills. So make that energy work for you, Cancer. Sometimes it's good to have an indicator of where your limitations are at, so it gives you a place like, okay, do I want to work on this thing, or is this someone where I could, maybe it's time to make an ally, and then I can learn with this person as they're sharpening their skills, as they're teaching me. It can be a whole thing, Cancer. And then you can teach them what you're learning too. Look at that, win-win. More, I'm with it. And Cancer, okay, nice. I like that. So Cancer, you got the 3 of Wands and then the 4 of Wands. And Cancer, I do feel like with this, whatever this is, don't let this get to a place where it deters you. I'm just thinking with this 3 of Wands, this is going to be these roadblocks that happen. They're not meant to just keep us down. They're there to help us grow. And however that looks, if we need to ask for help, if there's an actual skill that we need to do, if we need to just take a moment, maybe go for a long walk, and maybe go on a moonlit night, go for a walk, and do some walking meditations, maybe, whatever, Cancer. But the point is, don't let this thing deter you, because when you get through this, the reward is going to be fantastic, Cancer. You'll be able to look back and think like, man, look at how I got through this thing. You'll get to that next level. You literally leveled up, Cancer. 3 of Wands to 4 of Wands. We got and when you do, Cancer, when you get over that win, take a moment and just like you celebrate, you jump up and down, click your heels, whatever that looks like. But give that when you get over that hump, give that yourself a round of applause, because that's a win. That's how we accumulate more wins for the next lunar cycle. Cancer, that's how we celebrate a full moon. So I like that. All right, let's get some advice from Venus. I like that. Okay, we got the 7 of Stars here, Cancer. And with the 7 of Stars, if this is something that, when you invested in this thing, if this is something that, how I feel about, if this is something that in your heart of hearts is that it's your passion, it fulfills you, it's raised your vibration, but it's just like, because it happens, Cancer. There were times, like even when I started this channel, I love doing this thing, but there were times at the beginning, at first, where it's just like, random camera things, trying to figure out lighting, and it's just like random roadblocks. And could you easily give up? Absolutely. But it's just like when you're passionate enough about it, and that's the one, Cancer, and it gives, and if this is something too where, this thing is, even with this challenge, you're still feeling fulfilled. This is not like something where it's like you're investing and it's just been like nonstop, like setbacks, Cancer, because I feel like is a different story. But yeah, if this thing has really been speaking to you and this is just like one of those things, I say, keep invested, Cancer. See, you got to pay attention, to what you're getting back, because let's say, now that I'm thinking about that, if we've invested in this thing, if we're feeling blocked and maybe feeling nervous because we've invested in this and we feel like there's this pressure of we have to, I I would say to that, Cancer, just kind of see what's being yielded. If your energy is, because what am I trying to spit out at you, Cancer? I feel like if this is something that has just been kind of just like taking away from your energy, it's just been just like you feel exhausted all the time. There's been no kind of wins just at all. Maybe like the occasional thing, but if you've been just like where it's just been a kind of like setback, I think that may be a time, Cancer, to, at first, I'm not saying you have to, necessarily abandon whatever this thing is that you're working on, but maybe it's time to think about is the approach that you're doing, or, because like my example for that is like if you're someone who likes working with cars and you like working with cars but working in an auto body shop isn't your jam, but you want to still keep working with cars, then maybe we switch it up. Maybe you're a type that, maybe we find out how to get, become like someone who's like a pit crew on like the Indy 500, or maybe you're working with like antique cars and, restoring stuff like that. That's kind of what I mean, Cancer. Maybe we just need to shift gears that way. But if we're still, noticing that has been like maybe like setbacks and things like that, then it might be, it may be higher self trying to tell you, Cancer, like, like where, it's not that this skill wasn't valuable, but it's just like maybe you've gotten everything that you needed to out of this experience, and it's time to move on to something else. And who knows, Cancer, it's not to say that this was like a failure or anything like that, if that's resonating with you. And I hope that that's making sense. But it's just the fact that, maybe it's these skills that you learn now, when you take a different path, maybe start doing something else, these skills will become more valuable later, and then that whole roadblock will clear, and then a whole different, Cancer, it could be just timing, that's another thing too. So just, I'm gonna move on from that, and I hope that made sense, but let's get some more on that, Cancer. All right, Cancer. Let's see what else we got here. Well, we got the 10 of Wands in reverse here. I'm with that. Got the 9 of Moons, and then we have the 6 of Stars. Okay, so let's switch back over here, Cancer. Because here's my thing with that. So with the 6 of Stars, this is kind of what I was talking about, just that in that little bit, at least the point that I was trying to get across. If we're noticing that the thing that we're putting our energy to isn't giving us the results that we want back, Cancer, if it doesn't feel like that, it's keeping our vibrations in like a because it's one thing to have like to get like a hurdle, but it's a whole other thing when it just seems to be like nothing seems to be falling into place, like that to me is like signals like, hey, we need to pause for a second and figure out what's going down here, like how do we make this thing less of a challenge, of a burden, what is that? And if you are noticing that, Cancer, I feel like it's really, this 9 of Moons. 9 of Moons, I feel like, ask us to really ask ourselves, what is it that, would make us happy? And if this thing, whatever this challenge is, or, for whatever it is that you're doing I just feel like if it isn't fulfilling that, Cancer, if it feels like more of a burden, then I feel like it may be time to kind of release that and maybe think about seeing what other avenues or things that we could invest in. But, That's a tough one, Cancer, especially if we're feeling blocked and, considering if we've invested, however much time, however many materials, resources, whatever. But I will, just wherever you're at on this situation, you know, Cancer, just I feel like the biggest thing is just taking a moment and pause and just figuring out, you know, what can we do next? You know, take a walk, go for meditating, maybe journaling, something, whatever, talking to someone, but yeah, just kind of sitting with this, Cancer, and kind of getting things figured out. But I think I'm going to leave that there. And I hope that that made sense. That was the interesting little, I felt like I ran into a roadblock at the end of their Cancer. But if something resonated with you, give it a thumbs up, because that would be, that what kind of a, and not great that we're in roadblocks, but great knowing that other people are going through, you know, hurdles and, you know, trying to figure this stuff out, Cancer. So give it a thumbs up, you know, to just kind of indicate like, hey, right there with you, you know, we're powering through this, you know, we're figuring it out, we're the chariot. We always get it figured out, Cancer. And then if you know someone who's going through this, Cancer, share this, you know, because it's a tough place to be. And then, you know, even thinking about if we get on like that complicated end where we may need to think about maybe reevaluating things and completely scrapping ideas, you know, but, you know, share that, Cancer, if you know someone who may resonate with this. And if you haven't already, subscribe, and then you can hit that bell button. You get notified when I release videos each day. And then social media. I've been on this app, Insight Timer. That's been the biggest one I've been kind of pushing here lately. And it's a meditation app, and I started a group on there called Zodiac's Raising the Vibration. And it's just a place to drop like positive affirmations and uplifting messages, anything along those lines, Cancer. I post an affirmation in there daily, so you got yourself a little just buckets of positivity all over the place. So check that out. If you need a little pick-me-up while you're, you know, if you get caught up in a roadblock, they're there for you, Cancer. And, you know, as the group grows, I want to do, you know, start scheduling like group meditations. It'd be just a fun old time. You know, meditate during the void, of course. Wouldn't that be lovely? And again, that's on the app Insight Timer, and the group is called Zodiac's Raising the Vibration. And then lastly, Cancer, check your sun, your moon, your rising, your Venus, your Mercury, all those places. Just check your chart, Cancer. And then check out my other channel, Alchemist 8. I do weekly videos there, and then I do a monthly video whenever the sun changes signs. It's a good old time. And all that housekeeping down in the description box below. But let me get your surprise cards here so I can get you out of here. High Priestess. We got the High Priestess in reverse here, Cancer, and we're gonna talk about that. But then let's get your Oracle card here. Let's see what's going down. But you know, while we're getting that, Cancer, with the High Priestess being in reverse, I feel like this is saying, you know, if we're feeling stuck, you know, and we're just not sure where to go, trust your intuition, listen to that inner guidance, get yourself in a place of calm, and nice. Sleep on it, Cancer. You got the dream card here. I like that. But take this time and pause and get yourself in a calm space again, you know, especially if we notice that we're feeling, you know, kind of frazzled or frustrated or anything along those lines. You know, maybe this is something where we might need to literally sleep on it, Cancer. You know, maybe take a day or two, however long that you have available to do this. But taking those moments and pausing and just recollecting yourself and just getting your thoughts right, I feel will really help you get through this, through whatever challenge that you may be facing right now, Cancer. And again, keep in mind that these obstacles, they're not meant there to just like keep you down and get you where, like, you know, feels like life is just, you know, against you. It's to show you that, like, Cancer, this situation, you totally got this. And when you rise up and level up from this thing, you're gonna feel so much better. You're just High Priestess, like a boss. Look at that. Moon came out, you know, for the High Priestess came out for the full moon, Cancer. Isn't that lovely? So come on. Moon's got your back. So, all right, Cancer, I think I'm going to leave that there. So you stay safe out there. Keep eyes on that full moon, because, you know, she's got your back, Cancer. You know, take it as it resonates. You know, it may sound a little hippy dippy, but it's just like, you know, maybe expressing your thoughts to the moon, Cancer. You know, if you got a clear view of the moon, maybe just like, you know, sending a wish up to Luna and just seeing what happens, Cancer. You know, I just got a little chills. That actually sounds really nice, Cancer. I'm gonna leave that there, and I will catch you on the next one. Oh wait, what's today? Okay, yeah, I'll catch you on the next one tomorrow.